Green first green, fear the swamp or the main quest ready at. I don't even know their hashtag for fly, but boys, either way, Ship and Gaskin take you to the action. Last match of the day.
Last match of the day, buddy. And there's been a lot of 2-0s, but I'll tell you what, they've been closer than it seems, maybe barring last game, which is a bit of a tough viewing experience because that team was just so locked in. But what do you know? Goodbye to the Elsa. Goodbye here to the Loki because that Gambit lock comes through.
Yeah, I think the main difference that we're seeing here is FlyQuest opting to ban Loki rather than ban Mantis, which has typically been their ban number 2. So perhaps that might be their ban number 3, but no, they're just going to have the Vanpool ban on both sides here. So we might see Mantis go through. And I think that sometimes happens if you know the team you're going up against. Because if you think, all right, well, we know that we've got rid of the Elsa, it's unlikely they're going to try and go for any sort of like trip strat here. We might not see them even want to use the Mantis here at the same time. It did happen a few times through AMER where Mantis was able to get through unscathed. And it does look like we're going to see Star-Lord as the next ban on the side of Swamp.
Yeah, and another thing to call out, Amadian is in. So there is no days. So we kind of just talked about that. And what do you know? It's happening right before our eyes here as they head into this next matchup, the final ban or lock, coming in here for a moment for the side of Swamp. And they want to lock in that DD, which, you know, they can do very, very well. Final ban coming in here for Fly.
Yeah, with DD now there, I mean, that might have been one of their final bans if it hadn't have gone through. So FlyQuest going to have to consider with this one. Invisible Woman sometimes is going to be a target for them, but it looks like with Gambit being in play, they want to get rid of the Rogue. And I think that makes sense. Oh, or last minute change. Someone made a call. Star-Lord. I think that when you know that Gambit is in play, plus there's a potential of Mantis as well, a little bit later down the line, if you wanted to throw that in, Star-Lord is always going to be a little bit scary. So I don't blame him.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you there. I think that's not a bad decision. And they maybe in scrims or throughout understanding haven't seen how their team plays with the Rogue Gambit combination. I know obviously Vess is incredibly comfortable on that. And we talked about potentially in the conversation for the very best Rogue in the game. So maybe they're just trying to test right now and get a look at what this team can do on domination here. We head over to Hell's Heaven. A lot of off-map opportunity, a lot of dive setup opportunity. We'll see which team comes out as on top as Vess here is going to start out on the Thing.
We've not seen either team play this map yet so far this preseason as well. So there's a little bit of the unknown of how they're going to approach it for both sides. And perhaps that's why we ended up on this one, because you can pull something out a little bit different that's unexpected and hasn't been researched and prepped on. As you said, the Thing is something that's just a little bit different alongside Hulk and Magneto. It looks like it's going to be the triple Vanguard for FlyQuest with kind of the Thing working out as a little bit of a duelist, just being aggressive and getting in the face of the enemy, whereas Krasman's going to be on the Captain America. Looking forward to that one, but Mello on the Daredevil is where my eyes are going to be heading, because if you get a good Daredevil, boy, is it so difficult to play against.
Could not agree more, and I think the Thing is one of the solutions or something they want to keep an eye on, potentially mark Melophobia in Kraz, as they will be heavily on that back line. And we'll see how it all shakes out in a moment as Swamp takes the height here. FlyQuest staying on the low side central as Cap is beginning the flank from the side of Kraz with, oh, I love the setup here. Folks, if you're trying to work on dive, it is way better to set up as a unit coming together, and both of them engaged on the back line right now. Zelos gonna have to play slow. Crystals get popped instantaneously from Ken, and that is exactly what Swamp was looking for.
Yep, they were, but FlyQuest able to just hold on at the moment, but Swamp Gaming will maybe control this point early on. They are going to be able to force them out. Don't quite get it fully, and it means that FlyQuest are going to try and contest this one. There's now a lot of damage being done onto Krasman, but the heals will come through from SG as they are able to sustain at the moment. But now here comes Krasman to dive on in. Melio gets taken down, and now Swamp Gaming can look to try and press their advantage because they are going to have just so much freedom to push through.
Incredibly clean follow-up there. As we see Jolly trying to hold on. The point has been captured now by Swamp, 7% in climbing. Amadian going to walk them backwards towards the door. Crystals get popped once more. Another long cooldown. Ken going to copy up, and we are going to see Gambit not folding a lot here from the side of FlyQuest. Vast is able to find Valentina. Zelos able to take out Amadian. Melio on to Scatter, and now Fly retakes the point at 21% from Swamp. That's a huge retake.
I mean, massive retake and the perfect usage of ultimates as well, just timing it correctly, and the fact they still have a Raging Royal Flush going into the next fight as well. I mean, they're in a good position, but on the other side, Valentina also has it up, so it is just going to be a direct ult off. When one pops, the other one is going to follow most likely, but it's about the economy of everyone else. Forky Dog is going to have dance floor available very shortly as well. That'll be the next ult that will come up. So perhaps SG just slightly ahead in terms of ult economy right now. Ow, but Melio actually just snipes Forky Dog across the map. There's going to be no dance floor on the scene.
And folks, they're likely to ult tracking, so that pick, they know exactly what that means. They're going to play incredibly aggressive. Amadian goes down. Meliphobia turns it back on Zelos and finds another here on Amelio and is not giving up. Going to drop back towards the health pack and stay healthy for the moment. As the chase begins, Best is going to have to escape. Point still in Fly's favor as Kraz finds Ken. Forky onto Tuzi, but that is a decent chunk of the point. The question is, can they get up to that 70? It does not look like they can. Ooh.
Goal comes out from Jolly, and the portal is going to be there as well, just to try and follow up and just get the team there very quickly for FlyQuest to try and keep this one going in their favor, which it is at the moment. 66 and ticking, but look at the ult economy for Swamp Gaming here. Dance Floor is going to be the first one to come out.
Yeah, but they're still holding on to the point, and that's all Fly was looking for off that portal, and that's why keeping Strange available for your team to switch to at any moment is so valuable. Stalling there, and now immediately gonna keep this point. Yes, they're down numbers, but 81% and climbing is all that matters. But the genius that is Swamp Gaming said, you know what? We win this fight without committing anything. Let's hold on to our ultimates, play very slow over these next few fights and not overcommit, and this could still very much be our map. But Fly, that was a very smart play.
It's a lot of time for FlyQuest, but as you said, with only the dance floor coming out on the side of Forky Dog, Swamp Gaming just have so much now in terms of defensive ultimates or offensive, depending on how they want to use them. Freedom Charge is going to be an initial one. You can see Scatter Genji has just popped the Rogue ult as well, just to maybe take a little bit of percentage away from FlyQuest to give them even more of an advantage on their ult side. And FlyQuest just backing off, but now we're going to re-engage here.
Jolly able to find Scatter there early on. Ult was committed in that fight. Fly able to trade one, chasing down Kraz, at the moment is Jolly. He's keeping the pressure on, but the dance floor, the Cutterfly comes out as Meliphobia and Amadian commit heavily with ultimates. Jolly able to take out Amadian in the mix there, and that was an insane clap timing. Able to find that pick, gonna have to drop back. But there was a fair amount of commitment there from Swamp, so we will see if Fly can come back with a vengeance, as there will be double Gambit available.
Double Gambit, and there's the first one potentially coming out now. You can see Ken going to use it, and here they go. FlyQuest have to make this one count. Swamp Gaming on the defense, what have they got to offer? They also have their own Raging Royal Flush as well. Ken having to back off, took a little bit of damage. Meliphobia also popping it, let the devil out as well, trying to just get as much as he can on the back line, but Kraz is the one who is punishing them at the moment.
A lot of damage out there, and out goes the Freedom Charge to keep the team healthy. Swamp playing this like pros currently. Being down in ultimate, still holding on to this point, now at 99. What a juke there to avoid the clobbering time. Jolly able to find one best as well, though. And Fly now retaking presence on point. Can they get this first map as Melio and Tuzi find two more? Portal play coming in from Forky. And they're going to try to take out Kraz, just a little bit delayed. And that's exactly what is done here. 10% available left for Fly. And the portal play is being set up. It's all about this next fight. Tuzi with Meteor M available, though.
Yeah, that's the only ultimate that is going to be available. So eyes on Tuzi and what you can do. Can you hit a slam dunk onto someone? Here comes the portal as overtime now activated on the other side for it. Swamp Gaming full sending this one. Any ultimates to try and work with? Jolly also has it available now as Tuzi still holding on to that Meteor M. No early pick, but both teams fighting tooth and nail. Now Swamp Gaming seem to be falling. FlyQuest, maybe, just maybe, they're able to get this first one because Swamp Gaming are being pummeled into the ground. And FlyQuest, have we finally found their footing, because they have shown up here in the first round against Swamp.
FlyQuest may be down, but they're not out. Bouncing back with a comp that looks so fluid for them, dominating the point early, making an incredibly smart, strange portal play to stall for ever longer. And next thing you know, they come out with the map W. FlyQuest trying to get a W here on Swamp. The first ever L that Swamp would receive would be absolutely insane.
Unbelievable. I mean, on paper, if you watch FlyQuest's first 3 matches, you would be saying Swamp Gaming are going to bully them into the ground. It's going to be a no contest. It's going to be one-sided. It's going to be laughable. Why are FlyQuest even a team? But then yesterday, we got to see, actually, now FlyQuest are a little bit practiced. They've learned the meta. They're starting to develop. They have such experience on this roster, and they've just been able to take it to Swamp Gaming. Now, it's not going to be a guaranteed win, It's only one round off the 3, but it's certainly fantastic signs for FlyQuest. Their ultimate usage and their timing was incredible. They baited in some of the divers from Swamp Gaming, and they were more than prepared for them.
Yeah, despite the outcome, FlyQuest has really stepped into their shoes here. They're starting to look like a team that is something to be feared, and that is the FlyQuest we've known over these last, year and a half here in the Ignite scene as a whole. They are coming together as a unit, but we'll see this early fight. Vest goes down from Melophobia. There's going to be we're going to start with Gambit immediately. They're just going to send it, even being down a number. Likely matched back. It's actually not going to be matched back because Valentina doesn't have all available. A medium with some great focus, able to take out Melio. Ken finds a medium, though, to trade that back. Craze trying to find something. Kraz, excuse me, onto Zelos. Does just that. Forky onto Ken. And even through that ultimate, Swamp Gaming took that L personally, and they don't want to lose another map.
Yeah, I was going to say, Swamp Gaming playing angry now. And is it going to be one of those situations where you don't want to make them angry? What does Swamp Gaming have to offer? Because Melophobia's almost got the Eye of Agamotto up. The Butterfly is going to be there as well from Radiant. So Swamp Gaming have tools here. Scattergenji has ultimate as well. So FlyQuest might find themselves losing back-to-back fights here if they're not careful.
They're saying the sun's getting real low, big guy.
It's
and trying to
getting
slow
real
him up
low.
just a little bit. Trying to slow him up just a little bit. Tuzi with the Meteor Ram walking and bang right to the face onto Scatter. Is going to be the first pick of this fight from the side of Fly. Swamp has a ton of ults available, and that is a big clobbering time, followed up immediately by the dance of the Cutterfly. Forky Dog with the invisible boundary. Swamp committing everything, but nobody on the KO feed. Melophobia with a big eye is able to clean up a few. Tuzi and Melio now drop some. Amadian finds Zelos, which is a big pick, as it was the Gambit, and I believe ult was committed at that point. Not sure if it stopped the ult in that moment. Still big value. On to point on the side of Fly. 53% for Swamp, though.
Yeah, Fly do retake it, even though there were members of Swamp to potentially contest. They wanted to regroup and ensure they could actually take a straight 6v6 fight and not be staggered and give too much percentage here to FlyQuest. Here comes the portal now as they will push in, and it is going to be thing versus thing action. Vesper versus Krasman. And in the moment, both of them just absolutely clobbering one another, but they need support, and here it comes. Scattergenji gets the opener.
That's his character, getting some vengeance right there, finding one. Scatter looking clean right now on the Rogue. Gambit does not fold, though, and that's going to be a pick from Zelos onto Scatter. And they still are maintaining presence on point. There's the commitment right back at him, this time from Valentina. The team needs to hold on if they can. Jolly with some good positioning is able to find one on a Forky in the backline. Still has ultimate to stall should need be, and there it is. To battle on point. We're going to see some of that combination. That was an incredible exile right there, and that's going to be a pick. Jolly stepping up after struggling a little bit early on in this tournament. Has really came into their own. Is now trying to find another here, and that might just happen onto Amadian.
And they've turned this around, have FlyQuest. It looked like Swamp Gaming may have just got over the line to try and regain this point, but now FlyQuest take the lead, and Swamp Gaming have to go back to the drawing board. No ultimates across at the moment, but Amadian is going to be next up. And as you said, that dance of the Cuffly is going to give them the real opportunity to maybe target that back line and take this point once more.
A ton of ults coming available here in a moment. Both teams going to commit heavy because this is where it gets down to the wire. Melio, Zelos, Tuzi, and Vess have ults available where Amadian, Melophobia, Kraz, and Forky will have something to answer. But whose are more valuable, we'll find out right now. Out goes that dance. It finds two with the help of Jolly and Ken. And now 2 numbers down is the side of Swamp. FlyQuest holding on to this point. Another falls from Melio. Zelos on to Valentina. And can FlyQuest take this W home with 96% in climbing? I'm not sure they got there with the last 3. They did. And now we might see a portal play come in. Is there enough time? Holy... Are you kidding me, FlyQuest, with 2 more?
FlyQuest do the unthinkable. They finally take a map off of Swamp Gaming. Unbeaten coming into this. FlyQuest looked down and out after the first 3, but boy, have they come back from the grave. Maybe, just maybe, a new contender emerges. Now, yes, it is only just 1 map, but Swamp Gaming had not dropped 1 before, and that is such a confidence booster for FlyQuest in what is a must-win match for them if they want to try and get through to playoffs.
Oh, I just love Ignite. You mean, it's just the team that's on the bottom of the bracket is duking it out with the team on the top. It's any given day. FlyQuest mentioned they just need some more time to figure out the meta. They're learning, they're adapting. And look at this right now, going against arguably Team America, who's looked so good in Ignite, is now going to find themselves up 1-0. Look at these stat lines, my man.
And I think Vodable said it. Maybe I'm a good luck charm because I predicted them to win the entirety of this group, and suddenly they come alive when I'm casting. Cozy, this is what we wanted, right? We wanted a matchup. We wanted to see FlyQuest come into their own, and boy, have they shown us.
Yeah, listen, we're going no break today because have you guys, you've been to the airport before. Sometimes the flight gets delayed. Sometimes it's a little bit of a bumpy start off to get in the flight, and then you look for, the smooth landing. We're looking like we're getting closer and closer to that. Obviously, there's a lot of hype here. It's not like they won the grand finals, but they did just take a dang map off of Swamp Gaming that they haven't lost yet, right? And so that's not only are they kind of having this redemption arc, but to have Swamp Gaming as that last chance to do so and to show up at the way they did is impressive. And we kind of started to highlight this yesterday, Shib, being Gaskin. We were looking at this team. Obviously, they're not all together. You got some people across the pond, some here.
Sure.
And so you do have to look at that. And what we saw is week one, a lot of Melio on Daredevil. Sure, that can still come out, and that is going to happen. But we've seen more of this kind of Phoenix play, Psylocke play. Psylocke plays a little similar to the dive, but either way, kind of clean up some of their, I would say, what could be identified as a weakness, because in dive you have to have really perfect comm and ping, and both were missing.
Yeah, I think the team is starting to figure things out. Like we said, Vest during the interview was saying we were a team that was slow to learn, but I think they're learning. I truly want to see more from this team. I'm hoping we maybe see them move forward in the playoffs, just because I do think they've looked so different. They're like complete Bruce Banner to Hulk over this series, over this entirety of Ignite. They really struggled to start off, but every player on this team is looking better than we have ever seen them.
Yeah, I mean, perfect analogy with the Bruce Banner to the Hulk. Because have you guys ever seen, I won't call it a specific streamer, but someone has like a hate wall and they have all like the comments that anyone's ever said about them behind them, and it like fuels them up and everything. Jolly, man, maybe he's got like a hate wall behind him because he saw what everyone put out there, and this guy delivered today. He had a quad play, was one of my top plays yesterday as the thing, Gaskin. Talk about the opposite of what we were seeing from previous teams. Mental is not an issue for these guys. They play as a team. They win together, they lose together, and they grow together. That's what's awesome to see.
Sometimes it's about getting over that mental hump, and I think that victory yesterday was exactly that for them. They reminded themselves of how it feels to win, and sometimes that fuels you as well. But in-game, I mean, Jolly on the Hulk was unbelievable, being able to time the ultimate perfectly, but also being able to put yourself in a situation where you are risking your elimination, there's a casualty potential, but you just have to trust in your teammates to be quick enough as you are stalling. That's your job as Hulk, and exactly what we saw. So perfect play, and a pleasure to watch. And now the real question is, how does Swamp Gaming respond here? Because this is unknown territory for them. We haven't seen them drop a map yet.
Well, I can tell you one thing. I think they have subs. We are going to probably see a swap out, maybe potentially there, right? I don't know if that shocked you guys at all that there was the sub put in at the beginning of the game. Like I said, they are, they all played not like there is subs, but I think they have that to go to. Not a lot of teams do, like an instant switch. Let's change this up. But also on the side of Fly, first they got to win before I get, too crazy over here. But I've got to say, they're just a hair overtime sliver away from beating 100 Thieves. They lost that game, but if they won that, we'd be having a whole nother conversation about this FlyQuest team, right? And to the biggest extent of what that turnaround was. So looking at what they continue, to show is cool. Hall of Dajalia, definitely going to be a tough map. Swamp Gaming, you guys said it best, kind of going into point two. Now they're angry, right? Sun's getting real low is the perfect analogy here. Quite literally today, Shib, as we end on this, potentially have this as our last map of the day.
Chad, are you not entertained? I mean, this America's region with the amount of upsets is just obscene. And I think you called it well, Cozy. I'd have no doubt that we don't see Days coming in here to change things up, just to change the momentum. I think even as a team, sometimes you make a switch like that, and it just helps the team's mental. It's like, all right, we changed something. Now we're going to win, even if it's not necessarily the player's fault. It's just how it is. So wouldn't be surprised if that happens.
And to me, like we were talking about this on the pod, me and you, like, what is their 1A, 1B? And sometimes when they're up 4 games, right, and they're playing Fly, maybe they wanted to get more reps with Madian in there, maybe Days is in there more. They want, sometimes you see that happen in sports in general to get reps for the team in a live environment. You can never, no matter what, in scrims, you can't replicate that. So that could be what we see again. Now they get to flip the switch, and we get to see what Swamp is made of when they take an L first and kind of how they respond. Because listen, life is easy when you're just winning. All right, it's all about how you respond when you lose in Gaskin. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And they have nothing to lose, quite literally, do SG.
Yeah, sure.
They've already topped their group. They're comfortable. They are going to get the #1 seed from this group. But judging from the interviews that we had and knowing the players a little bit, they won't want to be losing this matchup. They won't want to give FlyQuest a chance to even get to playoffs, because knowing how good FlyQuest could be, that is a potential opponent going into playoffs. You don't want to allow them to get that far and start to learn and start to build, because we know just how dangerous FlyQuest could be. So you want to eliminate them from the tournament right here, right now.
Yeah, never mind just FlyQuest. They don't want to give TLC anything to, continue to snack on and look at as the one seed for them. Also, putting the tape out there, right? Obviously, when you don't lose, it's tough to kind of study exactly all the pure weaknesses that took you down. And so if you do end up dropping a set, that's definitely going to end up having a bit of an advantage for the other teams. But guys, who knows what we're going to get? I'm guessing match 3. FlyQuest, though, they're on fire. We find ourselves up in match number 2, and we said it. You could not expect anything less here in Marvel Rivals. FlyQuest, Swamp Gaming, again, Battle of the Greens in the infamous location of Wakanda. Take it away, guys.
Main quest going after the swamp, and you can see now, yep, Daze is going to be in on the roster. We called that as a similar band phase starts off. Goodbye to the Elsas.
Yeah, I wonder if that will be the difference maker here with Daze coming in. Very impressive player. We know how incredible it can be, so we'll have to see whether it can just change things up for SG. But yeah, now going through the ban phase, I think that at this point we know what the early ones are going to be. It's usually the latter where it starts to be a little bit more interesting and you start to see the targets coming out. But both teams are going to play on the Gambit. And we saw really just how powerful Loki plus Gambit was in the previous. So perhaps, yeah, okay, we are going to see the ban this time. Swamp Gaming saying, we're not going to allow you to be able to double down like you did previously, because the double Raging Royal Flush was just too much. And Rogue is now going to be taken away, so you don't have that team up available. Daredevil is banned on the other side. These are fairly normal bans that we would expect.
Yeah, for sure. I was curious to myself and thinking, like, I wonder if Rogue is one of those heroes just based on Vest that needs to be banned every game. We talked a little bit about Polly and Cap, right? But, it's more so that Gambit's allowed through on both sides, so that needs to be banned out. But I'm curious what that looks like in the future. But Vanguard Pool is going to be saved here for Fly, and I think that could shake things up because they were forced to get rid of that Rogue, and it looks like Fly's not as worried about the Rogue, but we'll see what they elect to do.
And now if I'm NRG, I'm probably a little bit concerned seeing this as well, because if FlyQuest were to advance, it would probably be at the demise of NRG. If they were to lose to Sen tomorrow, then FlyQuest have that head-to-head beating NRG. Remember, they're the only team they've been able to beat them thus far. So NRG praying that Swamp Gaming are going to be able to come back into this one and actually take down FlyQuest and eliminate from the tournament, because then it increases the chances of NRG qualifying. So many things that go into this one, and it would make tomorrow insane if FlyQuest were to win this match. That's for sure.
That's a great call out. It's just so crazy in this region. The Group A alone is just chaos right now, and anyone has a chance to move forward. There's just so many different situations. It's like a multiverse of how this will end and this is just preseason. It blows my mind. I love the competition, man.
Forky Dog on Black Widow? I would love to see some Black Widow. I'm just going to put it out there. Like, we know that SG can sometimes pull off a little bit of off meta, but yeah, I was going to say that's probably a little bit too far.
Yeah, we've seen it once at Worlds, but it was for like a single moment. It did get some value with an ultimate combination with Rocket, but yeah, I didn't think that was going to last too long. We're going to see now. And I'm not sure if Forky's going to stay Rocket or they're just using that for armor packs off rip. It looks like they're all getting packs, so we'll see what the change comes in to be for the side of Swamp on attack. Fly, the main goal here is to own the height on the top left, play slow, try to hold this point. If they do get overpressed, they're going to drop back to the bridge. We'll showcase that if it comes down to it, just to try to bide more time, and then a portal play worst case. That is the go-to strategy from all pro teams. The top level of play. A portal is coming in right now from Daze, and they just immediately find Melio. Ew, that was disgusting.
Melio just gets deleted from the server, and now Swamp Gaming are looking to try and take this point so quickly to give them an abundance of time to work with. FlyQuest will back off. The real question is, are they going to try and defend this one or just give it up? And the moment they are going to jump on, Jolly's going to be the initial point of defense here, but taking a lot of damage, gets sent back to Bruce Banner, and now SG continue to tear through. Jolly goes down, Tuzi will follow, and it looks like the point is going to be taken here because there is just not enough for FlyQuest to try and fight back.
Swamp Gaming is angry. They come out with a vengeance, and they look clean doing it. Now, immediately going to take this point. Oh, how much time do you got for the streets phase? I don't know, almost 6 minutes off the rip. That was an insane attack. Really smart play and great focus. That was an instant delete button onto Melio there. Not even able to use the shift to move away with an iframe.
Yeah, I think Melio is probably getting pretty annoyed watching that one back. Maybe we're just in a little bit too vulnerable of an area. Should know better, really, with how these portals can be. And it has been an insane day with Doctor Strange portals, it does have to be said. People starting to get creative once more. Krasman taking a little bit of damage as Hulk has to back off and rejoin the rest of the squad. But SG still pushing this convoy at the moment. It's moving very quickly indeed. FlyQuest just trying to hold off right now.
Oh. Yeah, I'm 100% behind you. These portal plays have been so fun to watch. Jolly goes down there. Valentina already finding 3 here on the Gambit. And out goes that Raging Royal Flush. It's difficult to live as Invis through the chaos of this. As a huge eye comes through from Daze. And goodbye to the front line of Tuzi and Vess. Through that combination, Daze coming in after being on the bench for just 1 round is going to come back, and oh man, Swamp gets .2, and now there's 6 minutes on .3.
Oh, there's speed running now. I see. That's what we're seeing from Swamp Gaming. They want to show us how quickly they can win a map. And FlyQuest at the moment just struggling to contain the aggression from Swamp. This is usually what we see from SG. That's why I was quite surprised that we didn't see them manage their same kind of aggressive playstyle in the previous one. But FlyQuest, they certainly showed up, but now we're learning just how good SG can be. Rage of Royal Flush will come through on the side of FlyQuest. They do get that first pick onto Melophobia as well. Can they actually follow up on it? Yes, they can. Daze goes down, Valentina follows, and that will be the first real fight won by FlyQuest here. Swamp Gaming eventually will fall.
Yeah, they needed that too. You can't. Sometimes it happens like that, where you just get steamrolled and you can't collect yourselves, and you just lose to ultimate after ultimate, especially on the back of a Raging Royal Flush going into an eye like that. There's just no real response if he's cooking fast enough. It's so hard to stop Strange with a shield or something if he's going Mach 12 past you from the sky, and it landed clean. Goodbye to the front line, and they walked in off the back of that. We'll see if the comeback happens here for Fly, but I'll tell you what, Swamp has 2 ults available. Here goes one. The end song gets burned out of the sky. Haven't seen too much of that today.
Yeah, that one didn't really work out, but I think maybe it was just like kind of just stay alive kind of end song that comes out. But now FlyQuest will be able to follow up and get a couple of KOs. Actually, it's going to be 4 to be precise, and they will hold once more here. So even though it was a speed run to begin with from Swamp Gaming, FlyQuest have been able to find their footing a little bit here. But we are seeing just how impactful the Gambit is. Just once that Raging Royal Flush is available, as soon as it's popped, you know full well there's going to be a very aggressive push, and it is difficult sometimes to respond to it unless you have a Raging Royal Flush of your own.
Yeah, I think, you know, them removing the Loki has made it a little bit easier for them to bounce back. Swamp allowed that through last time, and the double Raging was just too much value. They just were constantly sprinting at you with some good coordination. Forky able to find Jolly there, who made the switch over to the Venom. Up in the sky is going to be that Galactic Legend combination. Will that get value? It does. Daze able to take out Vess. Not even needing to play that Wolverine or anything. Staying on the Strange, Kraz, excuse me, onto Melio. And now Swamp are walking them into the door.
Yeah, one last attempt at stopping this for FlyQuest. And they have to move quickly. Swamp Gaming going to prepare for it, though. And they have Kraz with the ultimate. Forky Dog can drop the invisible boundary now. And it's going to be surely too hard. Raging Royal Flush will come out from FlyQuest as a last-ditch attempt to see if they can stop it. But Swamp Gaming might just have a little bit too much here for FlyQuest to try and deal with. They are going to throw absolutely everything, but it's not going to be enough. And Swamp Gaming will take the first round here. And yes, they do look angry. And yes, they do look like they want to prove a point.
Yeah, a lot of time there on a full push. I'm not going to lie, especially at this level of play. That was true vengeance. They came back angry, and taking the .1 like that, taking .2 that quick, it is so difficult to hold on at that point. It's all about waiting it out and hoping the Gambit ult does not find success. But when they're able to use the Galactic Legend alongside of it, it's pretty much guaranteed value if you don't have a direct response, and they didn't. Really well played there by Swamp. Fly, he's got to try to get that confidence back to where it was last map, because right now they are struggling.
And if we see the triple Vanguard come out for Swamp on defense, we've already seen how difficult that can be to penetrate, but we'll have to see. Yeah, it looks at the moment that's what they're hovering anyway. And both teams potentially going to go for it, and it will be a Vanguard off. It is funny how the meta keeps kind of shifting. We see Trip Strat and then Trip Vanguard as well. You know, where are the days of the triple duelist? Where does that come through once more? I want to say that's what happens in my ranked games anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want the excuse to be there in ranked. So let's hope never. But I'll tell you what. If it was going to happen, it'd be at this level of play. You see Vest now going to be on that Vanguard pool. A little bit of a shift up here on the side of Fly. Ken going to go over and play the Jeff, and Zelos is going to be on now the Gambit. Jolly on Strange for potential portal play off the rip, trying to do something similar. The Exile was looking to go through, but what a shield right there from Vest.
Kraz, Scatter, and Daze all on the Vanguard. There's going to be a lot of responsibility for Forky and Valentina just to try and get the heals here as the strategist. But Melophobia on the Star-Lord, a lot of responsibility as well in the sky just to try and deny things. The real question is, can FlyQuest take this point just as quickly as SG did?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I think the Exile did go through onto the Strange there, and I just missed it in that moment. So that was a huge Exile from the side of Kraz. Now, the entirety of FlyQuest is kind of owning this space, now driven back directly, instantaneously, as I'm saying that, from the side of Swamp, who's got confidence. Goodbye to Melio as Scatter gets that punch. Now looking at Jolly, who's in a tough spot, also falls, and FlyQuest going to have to retake. Vest does have ult available, though.
Has it available? And now FlyQuest is just going to have to try and back off, regain. And Swamp Gaming, they do the first job, and that is defend that initial push. There was no crazy portal play that were able to wipe someone out just as Swamp Gaming had done previously. For FlyQuest, it's back to the drawing board, and they are going to go for the same kind of push around this corner. It is a little bit of a choke point, but sometimes it's the best way to do it. Banhammer does come out, and that is going to force FlyQuest back a little bit. Swamp Gaming doing the same, and now Hulk is just going to dive on in here, see if they can get that initial pick.
Yeah, space was created off that ult, able to get one tick right now. 3 bodies on, almost 2. Melophobia thinking about touching here in the off angle. What a shot there onto Tuzi. Crucial in that moment. That's going to force Fly to play a little more safe. Ken is going under, though, but that's already after on the back of 2 falling, and that could be tough. Ken trying to maintain presence. Doesn't look like landed on anyone on the opposition, but instead more of just an ally-based ult at that moment. Up in the sky is Melio, and Song Inferno is huge now onto Forky. Melophobia goes down from Tuzi. Kraz is able to find Zelos and Valentina on a Melio, and this trade fest is very much back and forth. And what do you know, a Raging Royal Flush to keep the momentum in the favor of Swamp.
Yeah, just keeps them on this point as well, as Scattergenji will get one onto FlyQuest. Jolly going down, and somehow, someway, Swamp Gaming have survived that. It looked for sure like FlyQuest were going to be able to break through after their initial picks, but now Zealous does have the Raging Royal Flush, so FlyQuest will be able to push on in. But on the defensive side, we have Io Bagamoto available for days, so if that's used correctly, and it does come out right here, right now, do they have the follow-up? Yes, they do. Wow. Vespa falls, and now it's going to be a 6 versus 5. Swamp Gaming looking to try and finish this one off right here, right now.
Yeah, they're going to need to regroup fast. The idea, what I thought was going to happen was saving the eye to try to look for Zelos in the middle of that Raging Royal Flush, but instead elected to use it aggressively, force them back again to retake. Just buy more time for your team to get more ultimate solutions. Now, Melophobia has an ultimate available. Likely going to be looking for that Gambit. Scatter going to do the same thing. Try to get on top of the Gambit, potentially early to stop the ult from even going out. And wow, again, Melophobia just one-clipping Tuzi.
And FlyQuest can't afford to keep getting picked like this. Just puts them at a disadvantage every single time for the fight, and they're just losing time. Jolly tries to escape. Melophobia says, no siree. And Jolly gets shut down, and now FlyQuest, again, it's going to be less time. They're down to just 45 seconds now, and it looks like Swamp Gaming, even if FlyQuest were to take this point, there's just so much to do to try and get the 3. We're most likely getting tied up here with Swamp Gaming showing what they're made of.
Can agree more. Good movement there by Scatter to get on top of Zelos when that Raging Royal Flush was available. Valentina already at 53%. Something needs to happen here quickly for Fly. And they need to commit heavily here with Zelos and Tuzi. Vest potentially doing the same on the back line. Here goes the commitment. Valentina just running away for the moment, trying to farm that ult if possible. Vest able to find Forky. That's a good start for the side of Fly, who actually may take this point. One Zelos able to find Melophobia now, and the point is growing. Tuzi able to take out Daze. Now looking towards Valentina, who does not have ultimate available yet, trying to escape and use some of that self-peel, and oh, come on now, Valentina built just a little bit different. She is able to get that trade, but even so, it is going to be 0.1 Fly.
Valentina is so bloody good, man. It's so impressive to watch. It doesn't matter what strategist she's playing on, but really is setting the pace for strategists across the game. Definitely check out some of her YouTube and some of her streams to just try and learn how to play strategists. That being said, FlyQuest have been able to get their first point, but time is going to be against them here. They have to play pretty much perfectly if they want to try and get these 3 points. There's very little room for error, as now we will see Melophobia again getting into the nitty-gritty here, getting aggressive. Kraz also following up, taking down Ken, and FlyQuest down to 5.
Kraz playing hyper aggro. We've seen this a lot from teams on defense, electing to just essentially hold this garage, and it is truly working as Scatter finds one. Kraz another. Do we see a third? We do. Days onto Melio and FlyQuest. They, you know, got some confidence there in that fight. But they're going to have to regroup and figure something out here quickly because Swamp has ult advantage. They have time advantage, and they have not scooched the point an inch here from the side of Fly.
Yeah, Jolly and Melio maybe can work in tandem here to dive and create a little bit of space, but Swamp Gaming do have defensive ultimates to work with as well. Kraz is going to initiate things. Here comes Melophobia as well. Galactic Legend does get popped, but Invisible Boundary on the other side isn't going to matter. Tuzi gets shut down, followed up onto Melio, and sadly, Melio did let the devil out, but didn't actually get anything with it.
And we're going to see the retake force out a few ultimates there. Melophobia and the side of Forky. Valentina not quite at ult yet. Vess has some pressure on the backline. Zella's going to be slightly ahead of Valentina. Likely we'll see Rage and Royal flushes on both sides. Valentina gets very low, able to escape in that moment. Jolly trying to find the backline now, is able to do just that. Onto Forky. Vess finds Valentina. That's both strategists. Now it's just a slow game. If they can bide time, they should win the fight. Scatter onto Ken. And as I say that, Kraz says, nah, I'm going big boy Hulk. Gonna chase down that backline. Vess able to find Days though. Numbers still roughly even so far as Kraz finds Jolly. And the point still has not moved. Ken onto Melophobia, but still Kraz is there, and there's that pick they were waiting for.
Wham bam, thank you Kraz man, but will eventually go down as Swamp Gaming have to back off, but again they have delayed so much here to now put FlyQuest down to overtime as they start to move forward. We tick down before point 2, and there's still a long way to go here for FlyQuest. I said that to play perfect before. Now they literally have to play perfect. They can't afford any mistakes. So keen eye on ultimate usage here. Zelos is going to be the first one to pop the Rage and Royal flush.
Wow.
Jolly will follow up, and FlyQuest are making this work. They are pushing this forward. Maybe there's still a chance of getting this second point.
Yeah, they need to save Tuzi here to try to stop Valentina. The entirety of this next fight is on the back of, can they take out Valentina when that Rage and Royal flush has been committed? So Valentina likely going to be playing incredibly safe because you just can't go down once you've launched that ult. Days with the Eye of Agamotto available. Tuzi just waiting, and there is the commitment. Can they get on top? And yep, Tuzi gets tackled out of the sky by Scatter right before that ult gets committed. Tina finds Melio, and that should do it at this point. Numbers up in their favor. Days and Melophobia with ult available. Should they need to use it? There's the commitment now. One goes down. Do I see two out of Can I do? Is that a three-piece? Goodbye, and Swamp make this 1-1.
What a game, what a match we have. And even though FlyQuest, they tried their darndest towards the end there, but Swamp Gaming had just done enough damage on that initial point. We have a match on our hands, as we would expect. But Swamp Gaming, after making the change, Days coming back in and not looking out of place whatsoever, as to be expected. Sadly, for FlyQuest, it means they're going to have to go to map 3 here, but I think when they came into this one, they would have been happy to take one map, let alone getting themselves to a map 3 and having the chance of maybe winning this entire thing. Valentina gets MVP, and maybe for good reason. As I was saying earlier, just really is leading the way with how strategists are playing at the moment.
Yeah, it was a great call there. 10 finals on the back line. Just matching Melophobia as a duelist. And, you know, we heard Coach Fox essentially say, you know, you can choose to ban out either the Elsa or you can go after Valentina on the Gambit. And you know what? I'm thinking Fly's saying, you know, maybe we should have got rid of the Gambit because that was an absolute problem.
A problem indeed, and now it's going to be back to try and figure out if FlyQuest can actually take down Swamp Gaming or have Swamp Gaming just come back from the grave here. There's only one way we can find out, and that's getting into map 3. But before we do that, let's go for a quick break. When we come back, ladies and gents, we will see the conclusion of FlyQuest versus Swamp Gaming.
Hello, folks, and welcome back. I think it's confirmed at this point. If you are the last match of the day, we have seen it quite literally every single day in week 1 and 2. It's going to be the most entertaining, and yet again, we find ourselves here with a entertaining matchup of FlyQuest versus Swamp Gaming. Swamp dropping their first game. Now it's 1-1, but I have to tell you guys, obviously moral victories are great, and if it wasn't the situation that FlyQuest is in, I think they'd be happy to take a map. But no, not at all, because if you're out of the playoffs, who cares that they were able to get one off Swamp Gaming, Gaskin? I mean, I think in my opinion, you look at it, and this is still just absolutely must-win territory for Fly to keep their mental strong.
I mean, it would even be more frustrating the fact that they've taken a map off arguably the best team in the group at this point when they let it slide in the early stages, and they should have probably won matchups against previous teams. And I'm sure if they matched up again, they might win those matches now that they've kind of worked out the nuts and bolts around their team. But sadly, yeah, it will all be forgotten. We will just remember that FlyQuest were eliminated and they didn't make it into playoffs during preseason. That will be the storyline going into the main season. So they have to change that narrative right here, right now against SG.
And we just said it, you know, not a lot of teams have a quick answer if they lose. Well, Swamp Gaming, they got the sub in. I mean, they got Gambit, Valentina. We can always compare her to Cooper. Both of them just so elite. When they get what they want, they are MVPs on the team. But the one benefit of winning early map ship is that you get to pick last map to try to claim it in best of 3, right? So now it is Yggdrasil's path. This is going to be FlyQuest's map. And wow, can I state this? I think in year 1, we saw Yggdrasil all the time, man. Like, it was a constant map favorite. This is I think my first Yggdrasil of the preseason. Like, well, that's kind of crazy.
It's also one of those maps that you can run the triple comp should you desire to. I think that's a test of a team's strength. I think if teams can pull that off or have like some sort of composition that's very defensible and bunkery, it finds success here. So we'll see what they elect to run. But I'm with you guys, what you're saying before. If you ain't first, you're last mentality, right? Like, that's the thoughts of these teams right now. They just want to move forward. And granted, first in this situation is getting into the playoffs, and Fly, it's not going to be enough for them to get a map.
Okay, one-word answer. Shib, then Gaskin. Who's winning? Putting you guys on the spot. Let's go.
I gotta go Swamp here. They're on a roll. They look too good.
He said one word. FlyQuest, baby!
Let's go. I'm going to go with Fly 2. Let's shake it up. It's FlyQuest versus Swamp Gaming. Match 3, our last of the day, unless we get a draw. And at this point, who freaking knows? Shib, Gaskin, take it away.
All right, my friend, it's been a pleasure working with you today so far. Our first set of 3, which honestly is kind of a rare occurrence. For some reason, whenever I'm casting, they just seem to go to 3s a lot more frequently. So here they are. Finally, we got the removal of Elsa on both sides, the removal of Loki, and the locks of Gambit once more.
Yeah, and I think the lesson learned of getting rid of that Loki was a very important one, because I think it was key for FlyQuest in the first game, the fact that it slipped through, and now Swamp Gaming is saying, nope, we have to deny that straight away. Daredevil and Rogue being hovered at the moment, and very quick picks onto both, because we know how dangerous they can both be. I think that definitely FlyQuest are scared of a little bit of Daredevil on the side of Swamp Gaming, and maybe for good reason, because of what we've seen. And I don't blame the lock on the Star-Lord as well. We just saw how important it was to have the Star-Lord available for Melophobia in particular, was utilizing it. But the real question is it going to be enough to get them the victory overall?
Yeah, it's a really good combining ultimate with Gambit, right? Galactic Legend is just so good at outputting damage. For those who maybe don't know, when you use Gambit, you deal 30% of the damage you've dealt to a target every 0.5 seconds. So if that ultimate doesn't miss and it's constantly dealing damage, you min-max the value of that ult. So Star-Lord is just one of those combining ultimates that is obscene, and they elect to remove it to the from the side of FlyQuest. So good decision there.
Yeah, Swamp Gaming recognized the power of it, and they want to deny it. Now, on the side of FlyQuest, again, they have the possibility of Vanpool, which, you know, as a Vanpool main myself, I always enjoy seeing. But this is going to come down to who kind of just has the meat behind them, because, you know, FlyQuest need to win this now. It's as simple as that. If they lose this, they are out of preseason. There is no ifs and buts. There is no maybe they scrape through if someone else wins or loses. They are done. For Swamp Gaming, they can deny FlyQuest's entry into playoffs, but also Swamp Gaming can solidify their spot as the #1 in this group. They're pretty much already there, but they would like to go undefeated in terms of winning every single match. And as you said, and as Cozy was mentioning, I remember seeing this map so much last year, but now just seems to have kind of, people have been led astray and not enjoyed it as much, perhaps. But it looks like both these teams want to get some reps on it.
Yeah, a favorite of mine, personally, if I'm being honest. I love Yggdrasil. I think it's so fun to play and to watch. But yeah, we're going to see that triple comp that I was discussing on Swamp on defense, running the triple Vanguard. And instead of the triple strat, they're going to have Melophobia be the sole duelist. And that seems to be the new meta in terms of these holds. FlyQuest is going to be showing Melio on the Punisher, which does a decent job into some of this brawl. Pull out the shotgun around the cart and just try to deal as much damage to things like Kraz as possible, removing that Strange Shield when available too. Jolly back on that Hulk too.
Always great to see a little bit of Punisher action. Excited to see what Melio can do with him, as well as now Krazman going to go full knee-deep into the action with Thing, and will find Melio. Ken gets into it as well, and that is just going to be easy pickings. That is one of the easiest cleanup fights you've ever seen from Swamp Gaming, showing their dominance once more.
That was brutal to witness. That was disgusting by Kraz and gang. Valentina with a huge ante right there, using that FF combination to ensure that everyone gets purpled in the back line, making it very difficult to stay healthy, especially when Kraz is punching you right in the mouth. The whole team got to regroup now and try once more. Vess has ult available, did not go down in that fight, and that's the value to staying up with the Van Pool, like you're talking about. And there's that back line engagement immediately on a strat. And more commitment now onto the front line, buying them more time. Jolly falls, but this time from the side of Daze, who's holding on here with the Strange. A lot of pushes already began here, as this triple hold usually holds a little bit tighter, and you want to portal back onto this ramp, but it looks like it's not mattering because the cart's already heading backwards, and FlyQuest has to regroup.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of eyes on Melio here with ultimate almost charged. Can you make the difference? Do you have the support behind you as well? There's, of course, not going to be any Raging Royal Flush right now. Instead, on the other side is the Galactic Legend that comes through, and FlyQuest lose 3. There's going to be no time to use your ultimate if you're Melio right now. You're going to have to wait for the reset.
Yeah, I like what Fly did there, though. That was a double commitment on ults, and they just drop backwards. They use Scatter, they use Valentina. They say, hey, don't commit anything. Let's reset and go after it with Ken and Melio, likely going to combine in this next fight. Very similar to Star-Lord. Punisher does a good job in utilizing the advantage, and there's that combined duo of ultimates. Goodbye to the front line of Daze. The portal will be set up. Ken able to find Kraz. Forky finds Melio, but Tuzi and Vess get a pick as well. Valentina finds Zelos, is still holding on to this cart. Do I see another? Ken, though, instead is able to find a pick. And that is FlyQuest up, but the portal will be starting up here in a moment.
I mean, it was the plan they were going for. Final Judgment eventually came out from FlyQuest alongside Raging Royal Flush as well. So now they'll be able to push this cart. But look at Swamp Gaming's economy. I mean, Forky, Kraz, Mello, Daze all have ults to use here. So FlyQuest are definitely going to be against it, even trying to get this first point. It's certainly not going to be a comfortable one. Melio just maybe trying to take Melophobia out of the sky, but Galactic Legend already popped here.
Yeah, using the Meteor to counter it just a little bit as Vess is able to find Kraz through the Mayhem, and that is a good start for the side of Fly. Trading 1 for 1, heading right towards the back line, using that ultimate immediately. Aya Bagamoto gets committed. Does that find value? Yes, it does. Goodbye to Ken. Valentina going to be able to find that cleanup even through the boundary right there from the side of Fly. Jolly holding on here to an ultimate, is able to take out Daze. Does have that clobbering time, and it could be huge. It does find Valentina right at the door, and for a moment I thought they might miss her, and it looks like they're not even able to get that cleanup. Scatter onto Vess, Zelos onto Melophobia. Is that going to be enough? It does give them enough time to take the point. Well done by Fly.
I was going to say, that was a must-win fight. They had to push that across the threshold. Otherwise, they would have found themselves in a very tough situation. Losing that, we've already seen that Swamp Gaming could be one of those teams that pins you back into your spawn. There's the Strange Portal coming out now just to make sure the re-engage is going to be a little bit quicker rather than running via foot. FlyQuest down to just 5 with Jolly going down. So they are just going to back off, give this one up for now, and wait for the refresh.
We're going to see now the retake here from Swamp, the positioning, keeping this point tight, ensuring they min-max the amount of distance that's given up, and that is a crucial thing to take into ladder, folks. Try to play on cart as much as possible. If your team goes down, try to land on that cart before you go down, so the point isn't moving throughout that staggering time. There's the commitment now through the invisible boundary. A lot of clobbering going through the haymaker. Scatter able to find Melio through the final judgment, and there is that Galactic Legend follow-up. Scatter onto Zelos. The entirety of Fly is falling now as Melophobia gets a two-piece. Daze onto Jolly, and Swamp Gaming are still showing up.
Yeah, this is what we expect from Swamp Gaming, especially on the defensive side. They are so structured when they need to be, and timing their pushes excellently at the moment. FlyQuest struggling to get through when that initial pick does happen. We have noticed, though, on the other side, when Swamp Gaming are at a player disadvantage, they sometimes still find a way through. Anyway, Ayabagamoto comes through. Daze gets 3 in the end, and FlyQuest are going to be sent right back to the respawn here. Again, perfectly timed, perfectly executed. FlyQuest didn't even get a chance to think, and that is going to be more time ripped away from them on the clock here.
I mean, you can't express the value of using an Eye of Agamotto on a team with Gambit ult in suit. If you're able to take the Gambit out and you hard focus Gambit throughout that chaos, the whole team loses the ult immediately. And that is the idea. Every time you play Strange into a Gambit, you want to hold that ult and try to make a play because it's game winning. And that was a massive play right there.
Huge play. What do FlyQuest have left in the tank then? Can they actually get any damage done? Melophobia says, wow. I don't think they can. And look at this pushback right back into respawn. And they are pinning them in here.
Yeah, I think we talked about the sun getting real low. The sun is burning hot right now for Swamp Gaming. Hulk is out, and they're mad, and they're popping off right now, and they look so clean. It clearly took it personally. Forced out a Meteor M just to get out of the door is a tough look, but you know what? You got to do what you got to do. This point's got to start moving. 45 seconds on the clock here. Daze putting some pressure onto the front line. That is 2Z, and is able to get that pick, using the shield to block some of the heals. Big brain play there. Eye of Agamotto available to try to counteract if need be, but the invisible boundary is the only answer they need at the moment. Looks like Daze, Valentina do have ultimate with Melophobia in a moment. That combination, we know how good it can be. Daze committing with it. Oh, wow. Another huge eye is able to find the back line. They clean up 2. And yeah, Swamp Gaming just look like their old form once again. And FlyQuest do have ults available, but I'm not sure it's enough to change this momentum with 16 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, one last chance. Raging Royal Flush and Invisible Boundary are up that they can use. Melio's about to get Phoenix Ultimate as well. So FlyQuest definitely have tools, but the real question is, can you use them against Swamp Gaming, who have looked so good so far? Is the initial pick going to go in their favor? Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Genji gets the first one, so FlyQuest are going to fall again here and into overtime. What do you have? 2 have gone down. Swamp Gaming just look flawless at the moment and having a field day with their defense. FlyQuest will fall only with a single point here, and Swamp Gaming know what they need to do. They just need to get it that little bit further than the first point.
Time to switch things up.
Yeah, I mean, just some really smart strategy here from the side of Swamp. They just look so dominant in these neutrals, and they use their ult so effectively and so efficiently. They never over ult. It seems like in every fight they're coming out with ult advantage. We saw Fly commit a few times to try to change the tide, and when they didn't get those wins through ult advantage at that point, it's kind of all she wrote. So we will see now if Fly can find a composition on defense to hold up against Swamp and bide enough time to ensure they hold them right at point 1, or essentially point 1, because if they get that first point, it is just inches. It's absolute inches before it is game over.
We're going to need to see FlyQuest at their very best now, and they're going to have to beat Swamp Gaming at their own game, defending like champions and forcing them back to spawn. I mean, look at those stats. It was a one-sided affair. You could see it on your screen. You don't even need the stats to be able to tell you, but Melophobia was having a field day on Star-Lord. Scatter also doing an incredible job on the Vanpool as well. Well, what do FlyQuest have left? That's the real question. They've put so much into this one. They've done the unthinkable and taken a map off of Swamp Gaming. But is this just one step too far now? Will they be eliminated from preseason here, or do they have just one more twist in this tale?
Let the games begin, folks. It is a huge moment for Fly here, who absolutely needs this win to have a chance to make the playoffs. Everything on the line for them right now. Stage 1 here in this preseason. Begins early on, playing a little aggro, using that Yancey, but that's going to be off the back of Valentina finding best instantaneously, playing so aggro on this hero. That's what you can do when you play a mean Gambit. Daze onto Tuesday, Kraz onto Ken, and oh man, Swamp have not stopped, and the counter portal begins.
Yeah, I was going to say counter portal here to try and deny a potential comeback from the side of FlyQuest, and it might be all she wrote already, to be honest. And here we go, Swamp Gaming looking to try and deny. FlyQuest, sadly, on their return, are just getting absolutely bombarded by everything on the one side, and they will probably get first point, and they will. So first point is already secured, and with just, well, it's about to be secured. So much time still left here for Swamp Gaming.
Yeah, I'm with you. That was a 1 meter touch. Well done, but it just puts you in such a dangerous spot that you're absolutely right. It was just about to be secured. It was any moment at that point as Valentina finds another on Zealous. Kraz onto Ken, but folks, it is meters away. I'm not sure unless they didn't commit portal, which I think they potentially did or thought about and canceled. I don't think they get there. That is a W. Oh my goodness, the last millisecond is the touch coming in, but it won't last too long, and that's going to do it. Swamp Gaming coming back after a loss on their first ever loss on Domination and just absolutely sweeping Fly.
The Swamp Gaming stay undefeated here in this group. They do drop a map, but it doesn't matter in the end. As for FlyQuest, their journey ends here. They can't get more than the 1 win on the board, and sadly that means in this group table they are not going to be able to push themselves above the bottom 2. A little bit of a surprise, probably the biggest surprise so far in preseason, but there's definitely been lessons learned here for FlyQuest, I would say. But as we said, they're going to be a little bit sad about that one, Cozy, because they just kind of woke up a little bit too late here in preseason.
Yeah, listen, you got to respect, the effort. I think both teams, they got their turbulence, going in with the bumpy start, and then FlyQuest forced for the long layover, man. That was definitely really fun to see. I think it is going to instill confidence for FlyQuest moving forward. Obviously, every win matters. Even going to stage 1, where playoffs and kind of where you land overall will affect some seeding. So, you have that going and you have mental, right? So those are the two things to focus. Man, can we talk about days? I mean, it was funny. Sparksheep just highlighted them. Talking about going to the Strange here and just completely just being the surgeon that he is. Impressed with the team all around, but it looked like as soon as they were locked in, Swamp wasn't dropping another.
Yeah, when you do get Strange's combination there with Invis, it really does enable him to be a huge threat. It's whole new combinations of abilities because you essentially can pull folks right back into melee range, and Strange really does play the most effective at melee range, choosing his auto as more of like a shoddy, and then followed up with a melee, and then pop your E whenever you see an opportunity to get a KO. And now when you pop the E, pull him in again for a close melee should you need to. So just enables ever more combinations for his play, and he looks threatening out there. Really well done by Days.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Gaskin, looking at what FlyQuest did before we move on to, I'm sure, a lot of love for Swamp Gaming. Anything you want to highlight before we kind of close the book on them? Because this game does exactly that going forward to the playoffs and as we head into what that looks like.
I mean, I think pushing Swamp Gaming to this point shows how much FlyQuest have grown throughout preseason. Sadly, it was just a little bit too late for them, but that doesn't mean it's going to be all doom and gloom. Once we do get into main season, I think that there is going to be a lot to be said about how well FlyQuest have learned throughout this preseason, and I do think they'll be back with a bang. It's going to be disappointing, I'm sure, for them to watch playoffs happen without them, but I'm excited to see how they progress moving through the season.
And that's why ship upsets are so impactful, right? When you have Cafe Rose open the entire tournament to that upset and getting the one over FlyQuest, those are the ones you are supposed to win, right? If you're FlyQuest as this org, and when you don't, then you have to win ones that maybe on paper you're not supposed to win. And so that's where things get so difficult moving forward. And I know FlyQuest as an org is going to, right the ship quite literally in the air as we see more for them after playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a testament to a lot of teams that, maybe get punched and they're unable to get back up. I think it took Fly a little bit of time to get back up, but when they did, they learned from that experience and they kept being vigilant and at least coming back and looking better as a unit, right? Whereas you look over here in Swamp, they got punched map 1 and they came back and just beat the opposition down into a pulp. They took it so personally, and that's a team that bounces back quickly. So you got to show love to Swamp, but I do agree, Fly as a team, they have looked so much better at the end of this preseason.
For sure, and they keep on, they don't attribute it to one person. We've continued to see that when Melo takes the interviews, right? We've heard from the coach as well, and, excited to see who we get here in a moment. But either way, I think this could end up in a weird way good for Swamp Gaming, right? Sometimes when you just play pure perfect, you can kind of look at, nothing to take away. And from the group of death, when you drop one, it does force you to adjust and see what that does look like, right? Overall, Gaskin?
Yeah, I think that it's almost putting yourself in that scenario where you've taken the loss. How do you respond to it? They've had the feeling of losing now, which I think you're right. I think it is an important lesson to learn. Maybe they weren't expecting to lose, but it might work out in the long run that it's very important for their development as a team as well, because you're not going to win every map. You're not always going to be perfect. There will be times where you struggle. There will be times where other teams find your weaknesses, find the maps that you're maybe not as good at, but it's about being able to respond and keeping the mentals high. So it was an important lesson learned for Swamp Gaming today, and ultimately they carry on being undefeated in matches. So who cares about one map? They gave FlyQuest a chance, but they're just going to be thinking about moving forward here and how they continue to dominate.
For me, I know they don't want to attribute it to one player, but want to pass it to both of you guys. If we were going to pick a player on Swamp that kind of feels like makes a lot of that difference, I want to go one by one. For myself, I think Kraz is just such a fun. I mean, talk about a person that I see as a Vanguard level up to the next level. What about you, Shiv, and then go to Gaskin?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few I could mention, but I'll just say Daze. I think Daze came in and hasn't lost since, right? So can claim the title of still being undefeated, which is good for the ego and definitely keeps you confident moving forward.
Valentina, for me, I think that she's been fantastic, regardless of where she is in terms of a strategist. Doesn't matter if it's White Fox, doesn't matter if it's Gambit. You can't really get rid of her, and she's been so impressive.
Well, let's welcome in the coach of Swamp Gaming right here, right now for the winners interview. And we've got a great one to end it on as we have them celebrate their victory. Hello, Coach. Welcome. How you doing?
Good. I mean, hard-fought game, but came away with the dub, so we're happy.
Absolutely. Hey, it's been a lot of fun to watch this team come together. I think for a team and the expectations you guys have, first to start things off, does dropping a map feel like a mistake, part of the process kind of? Are you guys more focused on the win or the fact that you did give up one? Obviously, this is new territory per se for this team in this preseason.
No, I mean, we just kind of had to make it a little interesting, right? Spot on a map and then, take it a little serious after. But no, it was a little bit of both, right? The draft wasn't great for me, and, we made some mistakes. We need to get more value out of our ultimates. And the map was hard to play that into that comp. Spot them that, come back, change what we are planning on playing, and, crush them after.
Awesome.
Beautiful. Question I have for you, that just an understanding state from my point. When do you decide to swap out duelists, or is that more so just to kind of throw a surprise factor at the teams?
It's kind of comp related, right? Like, we didn't think they were going to be, or I didn't think that they were going to be giving us Gambit. Most teams are banning and giving us Elsa. And so Amadian, we wanted to play Amadian there. He's one of the better Elsas in the league, and we had a strategy. We thought we knew what their ban line was going to be. But if they're going to force us on Gambit and triple tank, Danny's one of the best Stranges in the league, probably in the world. And, you guys kind of saw it. He just drops nuke after nuke after nuke with those Strange ults, and, can just solo win team fights, even into Gambit ults, just with that. And, so it's a big advantage that we have. And so if teams want to force us onto triple tank, that's why you see a lot of teams give us Elsa instead of Gambit. Because we can play the Gambit dive, and we can play the triple tank as well when we get it. And it's hard to beat. We kind of slow the game down, draw it out, and then hit you fast, hit you hard, and blow up your whoever we want to.
Beautiful. Thank you.
I always enjoy chatting to a coach, folks, and I think that one of my questions often is, how does preparation look for you? Without giving too much tricks of the trade away, going into playoffs now, obviously a big focus is going to be the likes of Team Liquid Citadel. Do you look at their weaknesses, or do you look at their strengths, or both? What does prep look like?
I could talk about this match. Like, prep into this team was like, the idea behind that draft on first map was Zelos didn't show that he could play the Loki nor the Gambit. Ken was both their Gambit and their Loki player. And so we thought we'd make them a little uncomfortable. We thought we'd play dive into it, especially with Ken on ping. We thought we could just kill him before he even gets lamps off. They did a good job. The Hulk thing comp, that's if you're looking to make sure your backline lives, it's a good comp to play, with the bubble and the thing shift. So there was that, and so it was a good anti-strat by them. But yeah, going forward and into Liquid, it's more just about getting a matchup that we're comfortable on. We kind of know what we play. They're the team we probably scrim the most. We like those guys. They're fun to play against. They're a hard team. The only other team that we think is at our level. And I don't want to give it way too much what we do into them. We experiment a lot when we play them in scrims, and they get messy. They slap us. We come back, do a little bit better. Things like that. So.
Yeah, great insight. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
I mean, it almost just took away my next question. But first, I got to say, I'll keep it a buck. I love vocalness of coaches, and I love like the personality coming. Like, dude, I'm a fan. It's fun to see this, in the sport. I think with rivals, having more rivalries, we have Sentinels, 100 Thieves. You and TLC, Coach Gator. Even though Gators are from swamps, he dropped the swamp race. Swamp ass game, and I want to know from you. Right. It seems like you guys are cordial and friendly, but like anything to say towards some of those words directed at you and the team?
Nah. We like the Liquid guys. We like we like them from all their staff, like Days is dating their manager, and we've got good relationships with those guys. We're very friendly. We scrim them. We're planning on scrimming them a ton every week, right? And so no, not too much trash talk coming from this way. I heard what Gator said. He texted me. We were talking today. No, it's all friendly here.
Oh, good, man. Well, it's always fun to see, right now the top two teams, going at it. And obviously I think a lot of people are going to expect to see that in the playoffs. I can tell you predictions are going to look a lot different going to stage one. Your team has definitely proved themselves heading into this thing. It's been a lot of fun to see the growth of this roster, of this team. You guys got a great one. Thank you so much for taking the interview, man. Celebrate yet another victory for the team and undefeated against the group.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, no, appreciate you guys.